because I'm using this one. You're back! I don't have to use this shitty camera. I can use
All right.
the camera I have up here.
Anyway, hello everybody out there in Twitch land. We are back again with Game Time. We're here every Tuesday.
Back again.
From 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Central Standard Time with myself, my co-host Lurch, and Angel. We try to bring you what's going on anywhere and everywhere in the nerdosphere. So everything that has to do with the nerd community, especially here in the Ozarks, where we were kind of birthed through our mutual relationship in the now defunct Gaming Arts Media Entertainment Expo. Where all that sound is coming from. Anyway, hold on just a moment. There's a weird something broadcast going through.
Is it from me?
I don't.
Maybe we should have done a sound check.
No, we will do one. Okay, it's my TV went off of pause and just started blaring, and it was distracting me. Plus, we have to worry about anything that might come over the mic and get us, dinged. So I'd rather turn it off. Anyway, yeah, we will do a sound check. Let's do a sound check real quick. So check 1 2, check 1 2. Check.
Hey, Lurch, your picture is still from me. Lurch, your picture is actually moving around.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm moving.
Is it just me?
Okay, let's see. Yeah.
Doc, do you see me moving?
No,
dodge and weave like Rocky Balboa.
You're frozen there.
Yeah, okay. I actually restarted my thing to see if it fixed it, but nope, it's you.
Okay, it's me. Let me drop out and come back.
Let's see. Authorize. Okay. Let's see. We did our sound check. I do want to open up our.
You didn't. You haven't left yet, Lurch.
Yeah, evidently not. I hit the leave button. It closed.
There we go.
They'll be back in just a moment, folks.
Yep.
Hopefully. Anyway, we do normally start our show with what everybody's been doing for the week. So I'll start off by asking Angel, who wasn't with us last week, what he's been doing the last couple of weeks.
Man, I've been
busy.
Trying to just keep working. I've been going through kind of a dry spell with contacts, which is something that always happens in March. So trying to get to April has been a struggle, but finally reached it. So a little bit more, I should be able to be on now more consistently. In the foreseeable future, I should still be able to do these podcasts.
Well, that's cool. That's always helpful because we do enjoy having you here as one of our co-hosts.
All right. How about now?
You're moving around now.
You're moving.
All right.
Yeah.
So
I had to use Task Manager to close Discord. It wouldn't close.
Oh, wow, that's weird.
But when I went in Task Manager, I saw it there twice.
It wouldn't Alt F4?
I didn't do the Alt F4 because who knows if it was actually closing. Because the screen was gone.
When it
locks, I could still hear everybody.
When it locks in memory like that, oftentimes Alt F4 won't work. So Task Manager is probably the best way to go. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, you've been busy kind of trying to find, some of your working gigs because I know, yeah, like you said, March is kind of a dry spell for what you do. How about you, Lurch? How's your week been?
Man, oh man, it's kind of, well, my work is kind of back to a normal schedule again, which is kind of nice. So I've just been able to do my normal work stuff. My hand is starting to feel better. I don't remember if that was, I think that was Tuesday last week or
Don't tell me about
Tuesday
hand.
before.
The kitty
Yeah,
caught hand quite
I
a
hurt
bit.
It
my
was
finger pretty
I
good.
yeah,
Well,
it was pretty bad.
Ouch.
yeah, we went bowling and it still hurts, but I'm getting mobility back now with my finger. So
That's good.
I
Yeah,
can't quite yet make a fist, but it's getting close.
yeah. I don't know
So,
if you guys can see, but I got 4 big scratches across my back of my hand from
Oof.
the kitty jumping up into
oh,
my arms and not quite reaching where he wants and catching with his claws and dragging his whole weight down. And he's a heavy
That's rough,
kitty,
buddy.
so
Yeah, but yesterday was a pretty good day. We had a cookout. I invited Lurch. It was great. We burned the Wicker Wizard
didn't
from
even invite
uh
me. Jeez, no.
huh? What's up?
I wasn't invited. Jeez.
Oh. It was very impromptu. I even wrote that in the text. I was like, "Hey, we just decided to have one. You want to come over?" And yeah, we wound up burning a whole bunch of like sticks and stuff from some tree cutting that we were doing. And we had this villain kind of this wicker wizard that was just like a wicker man that people would burn for the anniversary of like this wizard. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It turned out it was filled with souls and stuff like that, and like it was on fire and attacking the group in our D&D session on Sunday. And then but Monica, our bard, actually created the Wicker Wizard. I asked her to gave her very generic stuff, and I did all the personalizing of it myself. But she had crocheted an entire stuffed animal just for me to be able to do this, and she had no idea why. And then we wound up burning it in the
In the fire.
in the
yeah.
fire, so that was pretty fun too.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a video. I need to put it on the Discord so everybody can see. But it was great.
Cool. Yeah. As far as my week has gone, my family had to go through a tragedy I just told you guys about. Our kitty that you heard yowling in the background a couple of times when we broadcast, the female that was going in heat, we got her fixed on Wednesday, and Sunday she passed away. Complications, either the anesthesia or post-op infection caused her to go into sepsis, and she died, unfortunately. We had the option of CPR, but with small kitties like her, even if they survive CPR, oftentimes they're miserable because, CPR when done right, you have to crack a rib and everything.
Yeah.
And little tiny kitties just don't handle that well. And
Yeah.
she was 6 pounds when she went in on Wednesday, and had dropped to 4 pounds just a couple of days later. So a third of her body weight in just a couple of days she lost. So yeah, she just did not handle it well. And we thought a lot of her listlessness and stuff was just the pain medication. So we had no real indicators until she started throwing up bright green. Then we took her into the vet, but by then it was really kind of too late.
Wow.
Yeah, it sucks because they're really a member of the family, and her brother, which I put him down, but he'll be probably back up here sometime during the show because he's been extra clingy since you left. He hasn't yelled or anything for her because I think he could sense it coming because their sense of smell is highly attuned, and he didn't want to have anything to do with her the day before. So we think he may have known it was coming, but still, he's extra clingy now. He knows he's like the primary kitty in the house. The adult cat, of course, has been aloof to everything. But other than that, I saw John Wick 4 yesterday.
Well, real quick, my condolences on the cat. I know how much it sucks to lose a pet that you care about.
Yeah.
Oh, it does. And we're still dealing with it the best we can. It's hard, especially since that one was Allison's kitty. and it was her shadow. I mean, it was practically Velcroed to her side. It never left her. I mean, it slept on her. It told her when it was time to go to bed. It yelled at her if she took a day off from work, saying, "Why aren't you in the office?" You know. So she was a little bossy little kitty. She was beautiful. Um, anyway, getting off of that to more pleasant things.
Yeah,
I
you saw John Wick 4.
saw John Wick 4 on yesterday, and I started watching today a new show on Netflix called The Night Agent. I really recommend it, actually.
The what?
The Night Agent.
Night Agent.
Yes, on Netflix. It's a new Netflix original that just dropped, and I've watched the first couple of episodes, and it's actually really drawing me in. I won't say anything more about it right now, but definitely worth checking out. Um, and then other than that, I've been playing some Wild Terror 2. In fact, Sunday I was doing a tutorial on the tutorial island for Wild Terror 2, and I was streaming it when I got the phone call that she had passed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so of course I deleted that video because of course nobody wants to see that. But I just was going to start it all over with the tutorial for the island. But I am going to be doing some on this same streaming channel, some videos to introduce people to Wild Terror 2. So if you ever want to check that game out, but you're not sure, because there's not a lot of videos out on it, actually, and what's there is not very good. So I want to provide some extra insight into the game for some people who might be interested, because it's actually got some great crafting granularity. I love it. And my guild is all in on it right now. But other than that, let's get into the show for the week. We're going to start off with 10 awesome details we saw from the Tears of Kingdom gameplay. So that's Lurch and console gaming.
Yep. Yeah, the new Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. They did a new gameplay demonstration. And, Angel, have you had a chance to watch their demonstration, the newest one?
For the Breath of the Wild?
No, Tears of the Kingdom.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. Yes,
you saw the newest
I
demonstration?
I did,
so,
yeah. It's awesome.
So, I heard about them doing a demonstration. I wasn't originally planning on talking about Tears of the Kingdom myself, really, until maybe the launch and be like, oh, it's out. Because I was really lukewarm on Breath of the Wild. I know that's kind of heresy in a lot of circles, but, the Tears of the Kingdom, though, I went ahead and watched it, this new preview. Like, all the other stuff, I'm just, maybe about. But this new trailer looks pretty cool. Or, not really a trailer, but demo. Shows some really neat stuff that shows you some of the changes in the gameplay mechanics between the Breath of the Wild and the new game. And as someone who likes crafting, Doc, you might enjoy some of the new changes they got on here. But we're going to go ahead and get started with, I'll just kind of go through this list and talk about some of the stuff. One of the things I'm not a big fan of, but they're bringing back weapon durability. So your weapons does break down.
I loved that. Like a lot of their mechanics wouldn't work well if that wasn't the case.
Yeah, I've always been a
like the game was built around that.
Durability systems in games is something I actually like as well. It's just finding that balance between it breaking too quickly.
Yeah, for me, Breath of the Wild, that was one of the low points of the game, was their ability, because things broke so easily, and it took a lot of effort to make them not break as easily as they are. And now, that's actually one of the things I like about this new one is they've made the durability more interesting and gave you more options to play with that more. Yeah. Before I felt like it was a bit arduous. The durability mechanics in the first game I felt was pretty arduous, but in this one, they introduced this new ability called Fusion Frenzy, or Fusion. I'm reading off the thing here. Fusion, where you can, which Fusion Frenzy is a reference to an old video game for the Xbox, which is kind of funny. But in Fusion, you can use the Fusion ability to combine a lot of things. And they started off showing it a stick, and they hit an enemy with it a few times, and then it broke, and they had to pick up another stick and hit it a few more times until they finally were able to kill this new enemy they got, this construct. But then to demonstrate the change, they took the stick that's already partially damaged, and they went up to a large rock, like a boulder, and they fused the boulder to the end of the stick, and now it's a makeshift hammer. And as the makeshift hammer, its damage is much higher, and its durability is much higher. Which, that alone makes the durability and the weapon change-outs a lot more interesting, I think, than the first game did.
It's interesting that a lot of games dabble with the durability thing. I will say that the Fractured game I was playing with, that was one of the things they had really a lot of trouble with, the slider of where to put it, because first they had durability where it seemed like the weapons never broke, and then later on they made it to where whenever you got knocked out or killed, 10% came off the durability. Doesn't matter how good a quality weapon you had or armor you had, you lost the full 10% on drops, not to mention what you lost in normal wear and tear. And then they started growing too fast. So you got to look at that and balance it.
Yeah. So they showed a few different examples. They took a stick and they took a pitchfork and fused the pitchfork to the end of the stick. So now it's like an extra long, like 10 foot, 20, 30, 15 foot maybe, like trident kind of weapon.
A military fork. Yeah.
They took some kind of a mushroom and attached it, fused it to the front of a shield, and then used the shield, and when an enemy hit it, put off a cloud of smoke coming out of the mushroom.
Like a spore cloud.
Yeah, like a spore cloud off of there.
Nice.
They also made some of the other parts, because like in the first game, there was a lot of parts that were like about the only thing they were useful for was like maybe making a stamina potion or something. But in this game, they made it to where, say you got an eyeball from like a little flying creature, and you can fuse it with an arrow, and then that arrow has tracking, so you can shoot it in a general direction of a hard-to-hit enemy that's flying around, and it'll steer at them like a lock-on rocket to hit them, because you fuse it to that eyeball. Or you can fuse this like cold material on it that was in the first game. You can fuse this cold material on it that then makes it an ice arrow. Those things, those fusions, is I think probably the highlight of this demonstration, and for me, what makes it a very different, more interesting game than the first one. Then they went on to go a little bit further with the fusions, because you can do more than just fusing your weapons. But to make use of it for the other stuff, you have to use another new ability called Ultra Hand, which kind of fun little tidbit is the Ultra Hand was the name of an old toy that Nintendo made in the 1960s. That was like a little extendable hand thing that the kids could reach out and grab stuff with. Which is kind of basically what it does in this game. You have basically like a telekinesis thing where you can grab objects and move them around, like logs and boulders. You can move them around, and then while you're holding them in those spots, fuse them with other objects. And some of the examples we got to see on here, they took like a handful of logs and fused them together. And you can fuse them in like whatever way you want them, but you can just kind of put them together and they fuse them together. And then put it on water, and now you got like a small raft. And then it didn't really move, but then they also found like a little fan thing or whatever and fused it to the back, and then it propelled them across the lake. A lake that otherwise would have been a lot too large to swim across. And in the first game, you would have had to either run around it or get lucky and find a small raft and have a little leaf to blow your way across, or a lot of stamina-based food on you to replenish your stamina as you try to swim across and not drown.
Right.
And they showed a few different demonstrations where you can use this to make aircraft that like lifts you up in the ground from the ground to fly up in the air, or a car to drive around. And you just kind of mix and match these things in any shape that you want, and it just kind of uses the physics to make it work. And it's a little bit simplified, so it's not like you have to be an aeronautics engineer to make it work. But you know, it leaves a certain amount of customizability and freedom of choice, but gives you these new whole mechanics to kind of goof around. It looks like without too much effort, you can make the things you need to do the job. But it also leaves enough open that people who really want to can make some really complicated stuff. I'm sure that within a month of the game being out, we're going to see YouTube videos of people coming up with all sorts of wild contraptions using these mechanics. They also have this other new ability called Recall, where it kind of like makes an object rewind time on that one specific object. And an example they showed of that, they had like these big rocks that were falling out of the sky, and they hit it with Recall, and then jumped on top of it, and then rode it as it went back up. You know, reversing the fall that it did.
Elevator going up.
Exactly. It was an elevator ride. And then once you're up high, you can like paraglide down and go wherever it is you want to go from there. They also had new sky land. They had like sky islands all around the Hyrule, which they said there's multiple ways to get there. That was one demonstration they showed of how to get to one. And they got like different kinds of plants up there and whatever else. We're not sure what all is going to be on these floating islands, but that's going to be kind of the big thing to differentiate from the past game, because we did not have sky islands in the previous game. And then one of the abilities that kind of seems small, but kind of sounds really good to me, is Ascend, where if you are inside of something that has a ceiling, there's a roof, you can hit the Ascend ability and then just go up through, like just kind of float up into the ceiling and then pass through the ceiling and end up on the floor of the space above. It works on buildings, it works in a cave. Like if you go into a cave
like
under a big hill.
Shadow Cat. So like Shadow Cat.
Yeah. It only works vertically, but kind of, yeah. And so, like, they showed a demonstration where they had a guy go into a cave that had a really large hill above it, and they used Ascend and went up through it, and he's like practically swimming almost through the rock until he got up to the surface. And it doesn't look like that uses up any of your stamina, so you don't have to rely as much on your stamina to climb mountains if you can find a cave to ascend up with.
I liked kind of like the vehicle aspect of like being able to make like a tank if you wanted it is like such a cool, like a hovercraft. That's such a cool thing,
Right. Wow, that's cool. And of course, Zelda is just one of those classic titles that is synonymous.
It doesn't feel classic anymore.
Right. But it is synonymous with Nintendo.
Yeah.
I really.
Everything that originated by Shigeru Miyamoto though feels like Nintendo, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is. Well, he really was who put Nintendo on the map. He really was.
In the video game world, anyway. Yeah.
Well, and that's what Nintendo's world is. So
Well, they were a company for over 100 years, making card games and stuff before.
Right, but it's their video gaming that's really put them on the map and made them
household names.
Household name, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I grew up in the era when the NES came out.
Nintendo got so big as a game maker that parents everywhere called the PlayStation the Nintendo.
I think it's called consoles.
It's
Nintendos.
True.
Yeah, a lot of parents would just say, "Yeah, go play your Nintendo." It's a PlayStation, Mom. Yeah, go play your Nintendo.
Yeah, go play your Nintendo PlayStation.
Yes. I was like, you have no idea how wrong you are, Mom.
So yeah, I guess that's really all I gotta say. Other than this particular preview, I was planning on skipping this game until maybe like a couple of years from now, maybe give it a shot.
It'll never get lower priced.
I know, but
But now some of the new stuff has got you convinced. Maybe
yeah, this new mechanics that they're adding in actually interests me. The game as a whole didn't really interest me that much.
But it's sprinkled with.
I'm definitely interested in in the story they're telling.
Yeah, it does still look like it's going to be another game to listen to podcasts with. But at least there's more things to reduce the problem areas of the game for me, and add some interesting new mechanics. I'm hoping, though, something that we haven't seen, and it's something I've been kind of holding out on and we still haven't seen, is interesting dungeons like the classic Zelda games. Because the Breath of the Wild didn't have that.
It had a lot of it had 4 big dungeons like a lot of the classics, and it had like 80, like a ridiculous amount of like smaller dungeons that was all about like completing a puzzle to get an item that you would actively use to make yourself stronger, and that was really like in the bare bones what every Zelda game did. It just wasn't all continuous, which I honestly hated about the Zelda games. Sometimes I would be in an area so much I'd hate it.
Well,
and I didn't get that feeling from Breath of the Wild, which was a really nice change of pace.
For me, like Breath of the Wild had the 4 what do they call them? The 4 titans.
The beasts. Yeah,
the 4 beast things.
The sacred beasts, yeah.
Those were the highlights of Breath of the Wild, but there was only 4 of those, and they weren't too terribly long, and large gaps in between them of not very interesting stuff.
Right.
I feel like I would disagree with you. Because like finding the Korok seeds was something that I really enjoyed doing. And
finding the Korok seeds is oh my god.
I'm not saying.
To me, that was the worst gameplay mechanic in 20 years I've seen.
To be clear, I like collectathon games like Spyro and stuff like that. So like collecting things and like discovering new stuff that there really wasn't whenever I played Breath of the Wild. There really wasn't a guide on finding all of them, and I managed to do it. Like halfway through my second playthrough is whenever a guide came that claimed that they had all of the Korok seeds, even though you only needed like 80 of them to get the golden poop. And like, so like I understand that that's not everybody's breath of tea, but like, there was enough stuff littered around the world that it made sense, and the scrawling open road was better, in my opinion, that it wasn't so tight knit, because riding a motorcycle through that world, oh my god, it's amazing.
Right.
Riding a motorcycle through Breath of the Wild?
Yeah, the 5th sacred beast was the horse one. That was the champion's ride, and that was a horse-shaped motorcycle. So there was 5 dungeons, big dungeons, and one of them turned into, like, generated and created a motorcycle for you to ride. And it was awesome. It was amazing. I fucking loved it.
Were these static dungeons or procedurally drawn?
No, there were static dungeons.
Okay. Because one of the things a lot of games do for replayability is put in procedurally drawn dungeons.
So those never feel like they were made or anything special. After a while, those stopped feeling good. But there were there were 4 dungeons and then like 80 mini dungeons. There was never a point where I felt like there needed to be more dungeons. Each one was unique, and each one was unique and felt like each of the smaller ones felt different from the next one, because like the puzzles that you had to solve were so wildly different.
And they weren't
I
procedurally
honestly,
drawn either?
nope.
Oh,
Nope,
wow.
they were, yeah. They put a lot of effort into it. It was
That is a lot of
fantastic.
effort because most places go for the procedurally drawn because, among other things, it adds to replayability because the dungeon's never the same twice.
Yeah,
But,
if the game map was smaller and everything was put closer together, there's no way I would have enjoyed the motorcycle as much as I did.
I don't
The
remember a
master cycle.
motorcycle.
Yeah, there's a master cycle.
Okay, well,
Um,
Is that a DLC thing, or?
yeah, it was the first DLC.
Oh, I didn't buy any of the DLC. I didn't like the game enough to pay for it.
I told you about it at the time that there was a motorcycle, and you were like, "Oh, well, that might make me change my mind," and I don't think you ever wound up
Oh, well,
doing it.
I went into the store and I looked at what the DLC was, and the DLC looked terrible, and so I didn't
Well,
buy it.
it was actually amazing. It was a really good. I liked Breath of the Wild a lot. I played it 2 playthroughs, and then on my third playthrough, I sped run it. I believe I beat the game within 6 or 7 hours. I just jettisoned to Ganon's lair. I didn't do on my third playthrough. I didn't do any collecting of anything other than.
Yeah.
I just looked online for guides on how to like speed run the thing, and yeah, I didn't do any of the sacred beasts or anything. I defeated all 4 Ganons, or all 5 Ganons, 6 Ganons. I guess you consider the pig Ganon to be a separate Ganon than the one that you find in the chamber. But anyway, yeah, I didn't even do any like on that. It was fun. I enjoyed the game. It wasn't better than Horizon, and it was still a really good game, but the game I had at the same time, I almost feel like on the same day, if not on the same week, Horizon Zero Dawn and Breath of the Wild came out, and I played Horizon and I was like lazy. It wasn't until a year later that I started playing Breath of the Wild. But I could tell you without a shadow of a doubt, despite Horizon being better, Breath of the Wild is like my third favorite game on the Switch. Period.
Oh, that's
It's second or third. It could be because like Smash Bros is my number one, and it's either You know what? I'll have to say third because Fire Emblem is definitely
You've mentioned that
my
before
second
as
favorite.
one of your favorites. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we're going to move on. But
Sure.
we'll keep that game in our sights and see what they do with it. Maybe there'll be some more gameplay demos come out before it actually releases. But
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not far.
Yeah.
I already closed my tab, but I forget the actual release date, but it's only like 45 days
Speaking
away
of
or something.
release dates, before I forget, Squirrel had asked for any updates as far as when Titans Part 2 of Season 4 was going to come back. And they do have an official release date. And it is April 20th, from what I understand.
April 20th is when we finally
what
get.
Said is when it comes back is April 20th, and the first return episode is also the Stargirl crossover episode, Stargirl and Doom Patrol crossover episode.
Okay.
So, and I do believe it was April 20th. I know it was the 20th, and I'm pretty sure it was April. But I remember that was one of the things that Squirrel had specifically asked us about once. And
so the one Titans episode is going to have Doom Patrol and Stargirl in it?
Yes, they're both going to be crossover in the same episode.
I wonder if it's the Doom Patrol of their universe or the Doom Patrol of the TV show universe.
They have not specified if it's going to be the Doom Patrol from the original Titans or if it'll be the Doom Patrol from the TV show or if it'll be a completely other Doom Patrol.
Yeah.
And they've also not specified if Courtney is going to be the Stargirl of Stargirl or if she's going to be from their universe or the Doom Patrol universe or another universe. So it's going to be like completely up in the air. But I wanted to update because I remembered Squirrel had asked that, so I kept an eye out for her.
Yeah.
So that's coming. Anyway, we're going to next move on to the D&D Direct live stream that just happened recently. It was March 28th, so it was today. I actually watched it minutes. I finished watching it minutes before the show because I had forgotten all about it until you guys told me about it. But it had some interesting stuff. But this is mainly Angel's topic to talk about. So go for it, Angel.
Uh, well, I'm pretty excited about. I'm just gonna kind of like go down on the list here because I actually am able to look at a list. I'm not driving. Um, so I actually get to be a little bit more collected in my thoughts.
Oh my
Um,
God.
I know.
And we don't have to wear
So
dead spots either.
yeah, uh, it's a big deal. So a surprise. Minecraft and Dungeons and Dragons are collaborating on crossover content. And it adds different mobs to the game. Like you can fight a beholder, displacer beasts. They showcased a gold dragon. I don't know if other colored dragons are going to be in the game or not. Mimics. Yeah, lots of
And I'm not a Minecraft fan, but Minecraft D&D might be, might get me in there.
Lurch isn't a big Minecraft fan either, but I'm sure that if it's so funny. On the PS5, I'm still and I just noticed it 2 days ago that Minecraft Realms is like Microsoft is still pulling out money from Minecraft Realms, something that I had like a year ago.
Oh.
Of being able to like this server that people are able to access that just like you can have up to 10 friends and anyone can join even if you're not online. It's fantastic. I had that originally as like a part of like the local friend group, so me, Steph, and Monica could have and Jay at the time could have
A shared
a place
Minecraft
to hang
server,
out. Yeah.
basically.
Oh yeah, we had a world. I haven't accessed that thing in like a year, but apparently I'm still paying on it. Yeah, I know it's always that way, right?
Right.
And so, I'm like, well, shit. Like, I was going to cancel it, but if D&D is gonna be there, like, might as well check it out, with
Right.
friends.
Yeah.
And so that's exciting. Honor Among Thieves got like a new trailer. It really didn't offer a lot more than what we already knew, or you know what I mean.
And I'm even ahead of you guys because I've seen it. But
yeah, sure. Rub it in.
Rub it in. Yeah. No, I'm sorry, but oh my God, will your minds be blown when you watch that movie? And it's this weekend. Oh my God.
Yeah, it's exciting. I'm
Thursday.
excited. Next time that we do the podcast, we should have watched it by now.
Yes. And we'll still be doing our spoiler-free first, but after
fuck that. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We'll do spoiler-free.
I mean, because we want to give our viewers a chance to watch it.
I know. I was just joking.
But oh my God, is it good? I'm going to go watch it again this weekend.
Okay, so something that I really liked. One of my first, whenever I was first learning how to really be a DM recently for 5e specifically, because I had a very short stint in college when I was a DM, and Lurch and I had played role-playing tabletops before, but never in a DM capacity. And so whenever I was learning how to DM, there was a channel that I used to watch called Joe Cat, and he did a whole bunch of videos going over the different classes and races and stuff like that,
right.
And eventually how to be a DM. And this channel somehow, so Wizards of the Coast got a hold of him and was like, we like the cut of your jib. Can you make us a musical? So they did like a little animated musical thing with one of my favorite YouTubers concerning, D&D, which is Joe Cat and Crit Crab. Love them both.
You're talking about that little animated musical thing they did on the Direct. Oh yeah, that was pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah. Joe Cat and Crit Crab. If you have an opportunity to watch them and you like D&D, they're hilarious.
Oh, and I might like D&D. I'm not sure.
But it was a surprise seeing Joe Cat. Well, I knew it was Joe Cat because before they showed him with his black hair and his like iconic cat ears, you saw his little goblin figure that he sells as a plushie behind on the thing, and I was like, no way, that can't possibly be. And then it was just like, yeah, it's Joe Cat. Like, it's crazy. It's insane.
Yeah.
And they just popped up on screen. That was fun. That was legitimately fun.
I liked the direct. There were a few things I liked too. Joe Manganiello,
the hosts were fun.
Was really, oh my God, because he's such a huge D&D fan.
well, okay, so that has a little bit of a bitter herb for me, and I'm gonna say why. When Joe was so anyone who knows me knows that there were 3 properties that were D&D that I absorbed and loved because I loved reading everything in my school library when I was a kid. It was the Forgotten Realms books. It was the Dragonlance novels, and it was Planescape video game. And I played or read all 3 of those, never knowing it was D&D when I was a kid. Not even a little bit understanding that. So whenever he said, I'm planning on doing kind of like a project with Planescape, and that was something that he was always like looking forward to, I got excited. I thought the announcement was going to be that was going to be announced, and then he's like, oh, it's going to be a documentary, and I'm like, why did you even bring up Dragonlance? Like, it wasn't just that he brought up Dragonlance that he liked it. He was actively saying he wanted to make a series with it. And so why bring up that he wanted to make a series? Well, I get it. Like that might be his kind of like Ryan Reynolds Deadpool leak of if enough people like that idea, they'll push it forward. I'll fucking do that.
No, he's working on a TV series about Dragonlance.
Wait, is he really?
Yeah.
How did I not know that?
I was like, wait, did you mishear something or did I mishear something? So I just Googled.
It's just
because
how did I not know that?
He said it in that direct, saying that he's working on a live action.
Oh no,
series.
he said he's always wanted to work on that series.
Oh.
He did not say he was currently working on. Okay, so that's not a bitter herb. Actually, that's still great news. Okay, then I welcome the new document.
And I think he'll do a good job at it too. So.
Yeah, Dragonlance. My biggest sadness is that the Dragonlance setting didn't exist in 5e until recently. That is the biggest sadness for me, that I didn't have a reference book for that when we started our campaign, because everybody would have been considerably more powerful.
Weiss and Hickman were always virtual gods to me growing up because I loved Dragonlance. I really did.
Dragonlance is great. It's my favorite. It's my favorite setting. Hands down.
Was the character. I mean, Tasselhoff Burfoot, Raceland Majir. You just remember these characters, and they were just so amazing.
And how legitimately terrifying the red-robed mages are.
Right.
They are legitimately terrifying. I don't know, man. Okay. So the fact I don't know how I missed that was a thing going on. I didn't catch it, but now that it is, I'm like, okay, cool, documentary. All right, I'm less excited for that, but I'll watch it.
I'm still excited for the documentary because they're going to have a lot of in-depth interviews with some of the early creators and stuff, as well as several different celebrities throughout Hollywood.
I started my reading of R.A. Salvatore's books from a huge box, a huge cardboard box full of the books that were really worn from a garage sale that I bought. That's how I started my thing.
Oh, and wasn't Salvatore's section of that great just to hear him talk about?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was getting into, was I am surprised and excited that he's still chugging along. The Way of the Drow, I'm thinking about getting audiobooks to re-listen to while I'm driving some of these books.
Yeah.
Because I don't own any of the books anymore. But I remembered the reason why I even knew who Themberchaud was because of those books. Something of the Spider Queen. I don't remember. I don't remember what the book series was, but Themberchaud appeared.
The Curse of the Spider Queen and Queen of the Demon Web Pits and
Yeah. Themberchaud appeared in that, and whenever I that's the only fat dragon I knew that existed in D&D. So whenever the trailer launched, and the very first trailer I think had them jumping over a fat red dragon, and I'm like, that can't possibly be. Oh man, what an interesting fucking. That's one of my favorite drag. His story is so sad. I just fucking
interesting
love
trivia. One of my guild members who lives in China is a pen pal of Robert Salvatore. Him and Robert talk a lot, so that's pretty cool too. We kind of compare notes because he talks to Salvatore and I talk to Keith Baker. So
Yeah, Neverwinter is still fucking going on.
Yeah.
I started Neverwinter a while ago, and I didn't. It was hard for me to get into it, but
it's not a terrible game, but it's not my.
I mean, the next chapter, Minzo Baranzan, which it surprises me that it's been going on for so long, and that's never been a location. Is surprising to me.
But the fact that they're bringing Minzo Baranzan in is going to bring a lot of people in because I remember
anyone
you guys are too young to remember, but I remember when the Minzo Baranzan box set came out for Dungeons and Dragons, and you guys hadn't even been born yet, I don't think.
I mean, I'm sure we were. I mean, we're not that young. Thank you.
It feels like you weren't born.
I probably would have been a toddler.
It came out in the 80s. When were you born?
I was born in the 80s. So was Lurch.
Born barely.
Yeah, we would have been. I mean, it might have been before we were born, but
what is it we're talking about?
The Menzo Baranzan box set for Dungeons and Dragons.
Menzo Baranzan is a location in the Forgotten Realms. It's an underground city where the
world of the Drow.
Yep. Man, I remember, it's just so stupid, but I was so proud of myself for memorizing the word Minzo Baranzan when I was a kid, and 13 or 14 years old, and I just walk around under my breath saying the word.
It was introduced in 1988.
Oh yeah, the year you were born, right?
Yep.
I knew it was the 80s.
Yeah. The great fucking.
So I was born, but I was just a wee little baby.
Yeah.
I knew it was as older or as old as you guys, but yeah, I remember when it came out because I'd already been playing D&D for 10 years when it came out. But popular box set. Oh my God.
One thing I'm really sad about is that I'm not making quite the money I was 6 months ago. If this had released 6 months ago, I would be getting some of those bigger statues. 100%.
Oh, the life-size mimic?
Yeah, definitely. I would have made that pre-order. I would have been tracking that pre-order. I would have bought it. I would have paid for it outright. I'd have been like, take my money, please. That's amazing. Now I just have to make one myself. That's what they're forcing me to do.
I love mimics. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I'm. And the baby.
Hey, maybe they'll still be selling them in 6 months.
Yeah, at a markup.
Right. Yeah.
Probably.
You won't be able to get it so cheap 6 months ago.
But yeah, so they call it a digital play space. It's what it is it's a virtual tabletop. And
the one did say VTT at least once.
It looks cool. It looks interesting. I'm not sure I'm gonna not just because I'm working on my own, but it does look complicated. It does look complicated, and I'm not sure how much time or effort I'd be investing into it, especially since anything that you import would have to be bought. from my understanding of how it's going to work, you guys would have to buy your figures and different paint colors. Is how some of the leaks. I don't know how true they are, so take it with a grain of
Yeah,
salt.
we gotta take it all with a grain of salt right now because we
But
don't know
it
for
sounds
sure.
like the virtual tabletop will be even selling the paint colors that you'd be able to use. Now, now there's another extreme that they could be doing, and I don't want them to do it. And this is 100% me. I did not hear this from anybody, but my fear would be they'd also treat it like paint, where you have to keep rebuying it to keep using it.
I doubt they're gonna go that far.
Ugh, imagine.
You used up all of your blue paints. If you want any more, you gotta buy another tube.
I mean, fuck, I'm already doing that with my regular paint.
Yeah.
But like that's the fear that I have when the concept of you have to rebuy paint, or when the concept is you have to buy the colors. Then the only next step up would be it's a yearly buy.
Yeah. Or it's
something
you paint the paint by the per figure. So you bought blue paint for this figure.
Yeah,
you got another figure. You gotta buy blue paint for that figure.
You got five, and like 5 figures you can paint, and then that's all the paint you can use.
Yeah, this is all speculation.
Yeah, all speculation. But from what I know of Wizards, what we all know of Wizards right now, these are not unfounded speculations of people trying to
monetize everything they can. They do. I would give you that. Even though I'm more in favor of some of the things they do than you guys are, I will agree. They try to monetize everything.
Say, I do have a question for you guys. I've not read any Dragonlance books. I own a few because I happen to find them at like a yard sale or something.
Sure.
Bought them for like $0.25 each. They looked cool and all, but from someone of my kind of tastes, where do you think I should start with the Dragonlance?
I would honestly go listen. This is all about one individual, and like his kind of like story of corruption.
Dragonlance is about one specific character.
Well,
I mean, the core book is like the core books that people would the core books I read at least were very much about this one individual.
You're talking about Raistlin Majir.
I am.
You want to start with Dragons of Autumn Twilight, which is the first book in the first trilogy.
That's what I would suggest. 100%.
Because you get introduced to the main players, and it's really a vital introduction. You really want to get out of the way.
Unlike, I would say, unlike the Forgotten Realms, where you could pick up a book and kind of like go into it, there's a lot of like history that goes into the Dragonlance. Specifically, I would say start with the first book.
Yeah.
You would save yourself a lot of headaches.
And you'll get to know the main players right off the bat.
What's the name of it? Dragonlance?
Dragons of Autumn Twilight. Yeah.
Dragons of Autumn Twilight.
Yeah.
Apparently there's a movie.
Yes, there is. Don't watch it.
There's a cartoon.
Don't watch it?
Yeah, don't watch it.
It's not phenomenal, no. But yeah, there's a cartoon.
Don't watch it until you read the books.
Yeah.
I don't want the movie to to alter how you feel about the about
don't
the
let
book.
Don't let it influence you. Read the book first. I'm not saying it's a terrible cartoon, but you want to read the book first.
So that book.
Yes.
That's it.
Autumn Twilight. Yep.
I wonder if I have that in my other room.
It might be.
It is a great book. Actually, even with all the ones that have come through it, I would call it one of my all-time favorites.
So what you need to read first, Lurch, I would say, is what is called the Chronicles series, which is Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Dragons of Winter something, Dragons of Spring. It
does say this is Dragonlance Chronicles Volume 1.
Yeah. Right. So I don't think there's a fourth book, but I could be wrong. Read those 3 first.
I'll start with this one, and then if I need to, I'll ask about what to follow it up with.
Sure.
Right. and it is amazing, and I think you will really like Raceland Magier when you encounter him, because you love spellcasters for one thing.
Yeah, you want a world of high magic, of like everybody's like fucking powerful, insane weapons of mass destruction. That's the Dragonlance books. Like it's just constant war.
It is a high scale magic world.
Like even the Dragonlance setting that they released makes I think they're saying like a level 3 wizard is comparable to a level 7 wizard in the Dragonlance setting in 5e.
Oh yeah,
it's powerful.
In Dragonlance, there's 3 gods of magic, and they're represented by the 3 moons, and the 3 moons also represent the 3 extremes of alignment. And,
which is why the Sorcerer of the Moon wizard, or whatever, that Dragonlance setting introduced represents.
Yeah.
It's like depending on the moon that setting, it depends on the power that you get.
And higher level mages have to go through a trial at a mage tower, and it alters them.
It alters them, and you also get like robes that dictate what your level of magic is, and it's just like fascinating because you get to see the interaction of like these different robed individuals.
But it's the alterations, the almost mutations that the individual wizards go through that really puts their god stamp on them, and Raceland Magier is no exception. Oh my God!
Fizban started out in the Dragonlance novels.
Yes.
So the human avatar of Bahamut was from the Dragonlance series.
That's cool.
Although
he's called Paladine in Dragonlance.
In Dragonlance, he's called Paladine, just like Tiamat is called Takesis.
Yep. And keep in mind, all of these gods are the same entity. They just have different avatars depending on what sphere they're in. Spheres are different, like universes, multiverse. So, like, the Bahamut that is currently in our campaign is the very same Bahamut that is Paladine in Dragonlance. And Fizban.
Okay.
Absolutely. But it is so worth it. And for any viewers out there that watch this, I could not recommend the Dragonlance series more.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. Hickman and Weiss, team writers are hit or miss out there. They're not, collaborators are not always great. Those two worked so well together.
You
and I will always agree on how amazing Dragonlance is, I think.
I think it's like kind of my thinking is, one, it sounds like a really cool, story. And then with the TV show coming out, they just announced it in February, so we're probably a ways away from it coming out. But I'd like to, I want to try to like read some of the books before the show comes out.
Yeah. You get accustomed to it, yeah.
Yeah, get accustomed to it.
Dude, it was such an easy read. I got them from the library, and I only had like 5 days with them from the school library, and I just like I got 2 of them, I got 3 of them. I just slid right through each and every one of them in like 5 days. It was great.
This was during those days when I was reading 3 books a day, and
so
I went through the whole thing.
3 books a day, my God, dude. That's a page a minute.
That's what I did. When I was in high school, I read 3 books a day religiously. I went through the entire sci-fi fantasy section of my school library.
And I thought I did good when I read every R.L. Stine and Animorphs book that my school library had.
I love the Animorphs books. So they were in my school library.
They announced kind of like a really exciting thing that I didn't know was a thing. The Vecna is going to be so one of the biggest things in D&D about the Vecna stat block that they did release, because he's not in any like main series because like a Sararak has kind of like taken his place in 5e, and like they released a Vecna stat block around the time that they released the Stranger Things box set D&D crossover, and everybody was like, he's really weak. And it turns out because Vecna is a god, that's just an avatar of Vecna, and this is the actual story, which is a much more powerful version of the character. So I'm really excited.
Actually, yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm also excited that they're going to bring in more details of Venger, the cartoon sorcerer.
That's so weird.
Cartoon.
It's so weird.
But, you know, because I always wanted to know what his stat block would be like, you know?
Venger? Yeah. I've seen, me and Monica, so I used to watch Dungeons and Dragons, obviously, on like the Saturday morning cartoon blocks. Yeah. I think everybody did. I'm not special in that. But, when we started getting into D&D, she's interested in like a lot of like the stuff. So we watched some of the shitty movies, and we watched the TV show. And the one thing, so here's the joke I was excited to talk about is like in the one of the latest trailers, they introduced a group of kids that came from that kind of like that resembled that. And I'm like, if that's those kids, then we're about to see a final boss that is Tiamat, because in every fucking episode of that TV show, they wound up having to get Tiamat like attacking them, and then Venger runs off terrified because it's a dragon, not just Tiamat. And it's just like every episode ended with Tiamat running Venger off. And it was
because they had to get the two villains against each other to distract them so they could get away.
I was like, is Tiamat going to appear in this movie? Does the fact that these kids exist in the movie? I
declined to answer because you guys said no spoilers.
I was like, my mentality is, these kids are a herald of Tiamat. That's just it. That they are.
The herald of Galactus. These are the heralds of Tiamat.
Yeah, wherever they go, Tiamat follows for no reason. She doesn't say anything. She just snarls at these kids, and it's just like, why?
No, but yeah, quickly she gets distracted by Venger and then goes after him.
Yeah, I mean, Venger is the bigger threat than a group of children, but why is she following the children in the first place?
Even though the children have the special magic items.
Yeah, but I mean, like, is it really all that special in terms of, like, magic items?
You look at these items and you're like, where's the super phenom that Venger's after? I mean,
that's kind of like the mentality that I have of like Pikachu versus Team Rocket. Team Rocket's like, we gotta capture that Pikachu, and I'm like, why? He loses half of the time.
He's only he's just a lightning mouse. It's not like he's an epic Pokemon.
I mean, they're not quite skilled enough thieves to steal anything more valuable.
Yeah, but they're not even skilled enough thieves to steal anything that valuable.
They're not skilled enough to steal a Psyduck. What are you talking about?
Like, at some point, you just got to go out there and just catch a whole bunch of... It'd be simpler just to catch wild Pokemon.
Yeah.
But, whatever. Anyway, that's kind of like the mentality I have, is like, why are you after all of these items, Venger? But anyway, there's a whole bunch of, like, third-party fun Venger stat blocks for party members who care.
Right.
You know. I wasn't sure. I almost made Venger like a because around this time I was I look at a different stat blocks and like I have a million ideas for everything that I see, and it's just like Venger was like, could I make him like a mini boss that like the boss of like this sect of something? And I'm like, no one's gonna fucking know in my group who these people are.
Right.
Like, this is just gonna go over a lot of people's heads. Even if you knew who Venger was, I don't think anyone in our group is gonna be like, oh, that's exciting. I think they'd be like, huh, that's neat. That's a lot of work to put into a villain for a, huh, that's neat reaction.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff in this direct for it only being 31 minutes long. they actually gave us quite a few teasers of what's to come, and I'm interested to see what they do going forward. I always like hearing from Chris Perkins. He's a great source of information. Jeremy Crawford is of course the Sage from Sage Advice. So
I really appreciate. There was a point during this whole debacle with Wizards of the Coast where I was like, is Jeremy Crawford mixed up in this whole mess? And it was just such a nice change of pace to be like, okay, these people had nothing to do with it. No one was allowed to talk to them. These guys are still golden angels. It's nice. It's nice to have that kind of
heroes. Yeah.
Yeah, it's rare where I could be like, I'm not able to blame him. Thank goodness. Because it's if anyone, the whole Justin Roiland situation, it's like no one you think is safe is safe.
Yeah.
I think I read.
He did. What you're about to say is he did. But that's the accusation is what I'm really talking about, not the act itself. You know what I mean?
Well, I was going to say, wasn't the charges against him dropped?
That's what I was saying. Yeah. No, you're right. What you were about to say. Yeah. You're right.
Right.
They were. I'm just saying that the charges, that the fact that they existed at all, ruined his career.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that didn't. What I was saying was I'm glad that didn't happen to Jeremy Crawford.
Yeah.
And Chris Perkins too, because he's
and Chris Perkins,
one of my favorites. Ever since he became lead editor for Dragon Magazine.
I watched a whole bunch of D&D YouTubers who had an opportunity to talk with the social media person now, I guess, is what he's been relegated to after the whole D&D debacle. In order to gain trust, he met with 5 or 6 different D&D creators, all of which I watch, and I watched every single one of them, and one of the things that I kind of noticed was everything's a mess. No one knows what anyone's doing at Wizards of the Coast. Everybody is intentionally kept away from each other. That's a red flag. It's just but one of the other things was every single one of them was why don't you have more black representation in the people that you hire to go over this stuff? Why don't you have more Mexicans? Why don't you have more people who aren't white? And that was a constant conversation at Wizards of the Coast, and they're like, oh yeah, we are very inclusive, and I liked that they showed that by having both of the
they had a woman commentator and a black.
They had an Asian, and they had a black guy, but it wasn't just that they had the representation. These were really good commentators. They were great personalities.
They had nice excitement for the game and stuff. It wasn't faked. You could tell they actually were players.
It wasn't lip service. This was a big role to put people of color into.
Right.
This is the face of this event, and these are the people who you're associating with D&D now is going to be that announcer, and neither of them, make you, it didn't feel like pandering, but I kind of feel from a corporate level it was, but I still think that they made a really good decision.
It was a good choice.
They did really well.
It was a good choice. It was. Okay. Well, it's 10 after 9. We're going to move forward. I don't have a whole bunch as far as topics this week, but I was going to talk about my From the Vault. And because of sequels coming out like Shazam 2, Quantumania, all this, I wanted to go back to one of probably the best sequels to ever come out in movie history. Very rarely does a sequel exceed an original in a movie, but I think most people agree that Terminator 2...
I fucking knew it. As soon as you started saying, it's rare that a sequel is better than the original, I was like, are you going to talk about Terminator 2?
There's very few that you could think of that are truly world better than the original.
Terminator 2 is great. Another one that I would really say is like better, and I don't know which one came out first. I'm almost to believe that Aliens is way better than the first Alien movie.
Aliens is also one of the ones that they say that for, but I think the first one that most people would acknowledge as a sequel that actually exceeded the original, the first one I think most people acknowledge is Terminator 2: Judgment Day.
I
And
think so. On that note, I think it's one of those things. When it comes to the Alien franchise, it's not as universally agreed upon that the sequel
right,
is better. There are quite a few people that feel the first one's better, and then there are people that feel the second one's
this is
better.
also true.
There, there are two very different movies. The first movie is a haunted house movie, and the second movie is an action horror movie.
Right.
And so, depending on what your individual taste is, you're going to think one is better or the other. With
Right.
Terminator, everyone knows that T2 is the best.
And that's not to say that Terminator 1 wasn't a good movie, because it was.
Right, yeah. No, it was a great movie.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same stuff from like Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 is objectively the best movie of the two, but Spider-Man 1 was still a fucking
And
great
that's
movie.
just it. I was pointing out the fact that we've had some lately that I thought were really good sequels. Like, I liked Quantum Mania personally. I liked it quite
Oh,
a lot.
Quantum Mania was great.
I
I love. Wait,
absolutely loved it.
did we talk about Quantum Mania,
Yes,
or did
we
I miss
did.
those days?
We did
Okay.
talk about Quantum Mania, but it's been a little while. We've slept since then.
Yeah.
I think I was still in Minnesota when we did that one.
But Quantum Mania
Yeah, I
was
was.
a great movie for sequels. And I thought, personally, although we're not going to go into much detail today, that the Shazam 2 was a good movie.
I was going to say the same thing. I think I like Shazam 2 more than Shazam 1.
Me too. And that's it. That's just it. It's like, and that's what inspired me to go back to Terminator 2, because it was the sequel that started to tell people sequels could be viable movies in their own right. Because Terminator 2 was the first one that really got accolades as being a worthy sequel and more popular than the original. Was one of the first. Then later on, it was followed by others like Spider-Man 2 and so on. I liked Multiverse of Madness, you know, with Doctor Strange 2. I don't know if I like it better than the first one, but it was pretty close. and that's
that's one of those cases where the sequel is a very different movie than the first movie, because the Doctor Strange 2 is a lot more horror themed than the original movie was.
It was, yeah. Doctor Strange 2 is way better than the first Doctor Strange, though.
I think they're on equal but different ways. But but they are both legitimate movies in their own right, and sequels are not usually that. But we're getting better at sequels finally. After all these years, Hollywood is starting to get better at sequels in some cases.
I do gotta say, I think when it comes to superhero movies, I think superhero movies, more than any other movie type, is more likely to have a better sequel to the original movie. Because the original movie in most superhero movies is most often an origin story.
And origin stories
and we're getting a little tired.
They always suck.
Stories, yeah.
There's rarely an example of an origin story that doesn't suck.
Like, they don't suck, but they're never as good as the stories you get once you understand the character.
I've heard them several times. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like Spider-Man's origin story, like every single one of them after like the TV show, the 90s TV show, sucks. Because, like, we already know what fucking happened. We don't need to... Like, even The Amazing Spider-Man kind of, like, had to do a different origin story because, like, they're setting up a different universe where things happen slightly differently. But we could have gotten all that information by just being like, yeah, Peter Parker started acting...
Yeah,
you know,
that's why I'm glad when Marvel started making them, they didn't do the origin story again, because it's like... Look, it's a little different for us because we read comics and we watch the cartoons. The first Spider-Man movie needed an origin story so that moviegoers
people know it now. Like Spider-Man, even before the MCU blew up, everybody knew Spider-Man's origin stories. Everybody knew the Hulk's origin story, and everybody knew Superman's origin story. They knew Batman's origin story. We don't
Right.
ever Batman. My God, how many times can his parents be shot? I've never
God.
seen someone's parents shot so much in any other franchise other than Batman's. Stop shooting his mother, please,
Right.
for the love of God. We don't need to keep seeing that on screen of her collecting her pearls.
And conversely, I think that's
God.
what got wrong, and why Jupiter's Legacy, the TV show, didn't work, is because they spent so much time flashbacking back to that origin story, and they drug it out the whole season.
No, I actually watched Why Jupiter's Legacy. First of all, the creator of Jupiter's Legacy got fucked over really badly by a studio that was using him as a tax exemption.
Mark
Yeah. It wasn't because the series did poorly. People generally liked it. It was 100%.
I rewatched it recently.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
I liked it, but I thought it was a little bit overdone with the whole origin because it kept going back and forth and back.
Netflix doesn't give out the numbers on their viewership very good. Like
yeah, So here's the way that Netflix tends to do things: is Netflix has like 4 shows out of like 20 on a lineup that comes out every month, and they're like, this is the ones that we'll advertise a little bit, and we don't have enough money for the advertising of all of our shows. So shows that were funded by Netflix aren't getting advertised. People don't know they're coming out. You just randomly see them on your homepage, and you're like, what's this? This looks interesting. Like 1 out of 50 people will say that, and then 1 out of those 50 people will actually sit down and watch it. And so it's like there is a fucking disconnect between, you know, what Netflix like how Netflix is trying to be successful. It's like they you know, Stranger Things makes them money. They're going to spend a lot of advertisement on Stranger Things. You know, but Jupiter's Legacy is an unknown project, and you know, it's not like it used to be. It used to be things would go viral, and then Netflix would know to pay attention to that thing. But that's just not how it works anymore.
Stranger Things had that little leg up in the beginning because they banked a lot on 80s nostalgia and Dungeons and Dragon fandom.
Yep.
We were talking about sequels. The Shazam 2 movie so far has only made, as of 2 days ago, $102 million globally.
People don't trust the DC landscape right now.
Yeah.
Because you know, they don't know what's going on.
James Gunn are going to do, and
there's no reason to invest yourself in a movie or a series that's not going to exist anymore.
Yeah. Weirdly, this does tease a possible 3rd movie, but
I'm sure that was written in before the whole.
Yeah, we're only going to see that 3rd movie though if those numbers.
Yeah, but it's a post-credit scene that could have been cut, you know. And
you're talking about people who canceled an entire Batgirl thing.
Right.
Yeah. You know what I mean? I'm like, are they really? They're probably like, we could, now that we've got the news, we could edit this out, but then we'd have to spend money on a studio and an editor, and you know, like pay for the, you know.
Well, I mean, James Gunn, I think, mentioned something about how Shazam kind of is able to exist on it separate from the other things too. So they might be
the point of what? Isn't that the point of like what James Gunn is trying to do? Is like, I feel like in order to like assuage people and fears and like stockholders and shit like that, you know, like that's a thing that you say, but everything that James Gunn has been doing suggests that he is clearing out the DC movies. He is separating a line between what is going to be kind of like Legends territory and what is going to be the official canon. And even if Shazam exists beyond that point, does it fucking matter? Like, are people going to be interested in it?
I think so. I do think Shazam is going to continue to be, if it does okay in the box office, which it's not doing right now. It's lost as of right now. It's down by like $20 million from the budget. But I do think that was their intention, and I think part of it is I've been like paying attention to this. It seems like movies that were like the two top guys now for DC are James Gunn and Peter Safran.
Mm-hmm.
He's the co-creative officer, or whatever the title is, right? The Shazam movies are produced by Peter Safran,
right.
and he works on those movies. And
that,
James Gunn works on the Suicide
Squad
Squad movies, and or the newest one anyway, and Peacemaker and all that stuff. It seems to me like they're intending on keeping the things that the two of them work on going.
Yeah.
I
will watch Peacemaker because I think it's legitimately amazing.
Yeah.
I didn't think I enjoyed the original Shazam. I don't think it was so amazing that I'm going to watch it in theater, like for Shazam 2. It's just like the fact that I know for a fact it's not going to be a part of the new major DC canon.
I don't know. It has a tie into the Peacemaker.
Yeah, it has a tie into Peacemaker, but things change so much with James Gunn.
Yeah.
Like he said one thing and then almost a month later completely went back on it.
Right.
And so I'm not trusting that despite it being Peacemaker is something that Peacemaker is going to be, because he said that Peacemaker was going to be a part of the new canon before he changed the rules.
Yeah.
So Peacemaker might be made, but that doesn't mean that it's a part of the universe anymore.
Yeah. It might be labeled as Elseworlds after the Flash movie.
Yeah, so that's okay. I'm not gonna be invested as much in the Elseworld stuff. Some of my favorite DC stuff are the movies. I say the new movies, the movies from 2009 until 2018, where they were having a whole bunch of the animated movies and stuff like that. I really enjoyed those. Watching them all in a row was very satisfying. It felt very MCU. I was very into it. But the singular stuff, Batman in Japan and shit like that, I don't give a shit about that stuff. I really don't. That wasn't even fun to watch.
Gotham by Gaslight was good though.
Gotham by Gaslight was very good.
Gotham by Gaslight was great, but I wasn't excited to watch it. Does that make sense?
Sure.
I wasn't excited to watch it until I did watch it.
But I'll say I like, just thinking about it, I think I like Shazam 2 quite a bit more than Shazam 1. I might be a little biased because they had a lot of Greek monsters in it.
Yeah, I agree. The dragon, the chimera, they're great.
Cyclops, Minotaurs. It was pretty cool.
I loved it. I don't want to do any spoilers this week about it, but I'll say it is worth the watch. It is worth the watch. And the only way we're going to let Hollywood know that we approve of the movie is get people out there and see it, because it is really good.
But yeah, I think you're right about the reason why the box office on it is low is people don't trust it to be matter after the Flash.
They've lost faith. And look at it this way. Quantumania is not getting as good a box as they expected either, and it's awesome.
I'm pretty sure that Quantumania has at least made back the money that it put out there in terms of development and advertising.
I don't know.
Quantumania, Quantumania's budget was $200 million. Their box office is $469 million.
Yeah, they made it back double.
They doubled.
Yeah, it's not a flop.
It's not reviewed as well as the other movies, even though it's my favorite Ant-Man movie.
It is.
I don't think the general.
I think it's better than I think it's better than not Ragnarok. I enjoyed Ragnarok.
Love and Thunder.
It's not. It's better than Love and Thunder. I think.
Yeah.
I love Gore to death, but this was fun.
Yeah. So if I remember right, Quantumania, the Rotten Tomatoes critic score was really low, but the audience score was pretty high.
Yeah.
If I remember right.
And that's I don't know why, but that's kind of a thing that happens to
blockbuster movies,
woke movies,
Captain
Captain Marvel and anything that has like a huge feminine presence tends to get panned really hard. And Ant-Man in general, the movies are not like as well received as the other movies. Like the
Right.
very first Ant-Man, no, like it changed hands and directors like 3 times during development. No one wanted to put stock in it, and it turned out to be a really fun romp.
Yep.
Um, and Ant-Man and the Wasp didn't do as well as people would have liked either. Even though it was a really fun movie, and it like furthered the plot immensely. Like the plot of Ant-Man and the Wasp was super necessary for the rest of the
MCU.
end game to even occur.
Yeah.
Yeah. The original Ant-Man did pretty good. The original Ant-Man box office, well, the budget was 170 million, and the box office was 519 million.
Yeah.
So
But like
Yeah, I mean, but
Disney
it
has those
wasn't.
magic hands with movies.
We're not. I'm not talking about like what it made so much as like the perception of it when it comes out. That's
Yeah.
what I was talking
yeah.
about.
But
And
anyway,
sorry, go on.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Doc.
yeah. Anyway, so that's my From the Vault this week and the whole Terminator franchise is interesting, including the Sarah Connor Chronicles. But if you're going to only see one movie in the Terminator series, Judgment Day is the one that you really want to see because it's just so good. But it's nice to have the background.
It's hard to recommend Judgment Day if you don't watch the first movie first.
Yeah, because you want the background, but
Yeah.
you could watch.
I have an
Judgment Day by
idea.
yourself.
Watch all of the movies up until the second to the last one.
Yeah.
No, yeah.
That's my recommendation.
And
Everything
watch the
after that
Sarah
is terrible.
Connor Chronicles
Yeah.
because
I haven't
There's
actually
no-
watched that.
The Sarah Connor Chronicles is the only Terminator thing I haven't watched.
I
I've
haven't
watched
watched
all the movies.
I have no reason to like watch it. Like I don't know.
Really good.
I've not had a good relationship with Terminator for like a decade.
It's actually really good. Plus, it's got what's her name in it?
Summer Glau?
Summer Glau. Yeah. Even though she's the curse on a lot of shows because they end up canceling after she starts on them. But yeah, this is my From the Vault for the week, and then my other recommendation for the week is I just started watching that Night Agent, which is not from the Vault. It's something brand new, and on Netflix. So let's get it. People watching to see if they like it. It's spy stuff. So if you like spy stuff, then and then another sequel. I thought the new Scream movie was the best of the whole series.
Really, the new Scream?
Yeah, Scream 6 I thought was the best of all of them.
Gosh, I haven't seen a Scream since part 3.
Yeah. 3 was barely tolerable, and 4 I didn't even bother watching.
Yeah.
So,
I love Scream 1, I like Scream 2, and I think Scream 3 was...
Killed it for you.
But if I remember right, Scream 3 kind of killed it for me, and I lost momentum on that franchise and didn't watch the rest.
And then I didn't watch 4, but then when the new one came out, I watched it, and it was really good. So then I watched 6, and 6 was even better.
Good. I heard that the one before the newest one was really good.
Yes. And it's got Meg Ryan and Dennis Quaid's son in it, the guy that played Huey on The Boys. He's in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's Dennis Quaid's son?
Yeah, that's Dennis Quaid's son. Dennis Quaid and Meg Ryan's son.
I can see that. I didn't know that, but now that you mention it, I can see that.
When you first look at him, you don't see it, but when you think of it in the context of his parents, then you can see it. I
just now realized that Kirby just kind of like looks very ominous here. Hold on a second. There we go.
The Kirby was on his back, huh?
We're going to go on to the main media part of our show now. And
Alrighty.
as always, we want to warn people there may be spoilers coming through. First of all, this week there was no new Flash episode.
Yep. They took a break after giving us a really bad filler episode.
Right, that filler episode was horrible. But we talked about it last week, so we're not going to go on with that. However, we did get a second Gotham Knights episode, but I think I'm the only one that saw the second one because Lurch
Yeah,
to the
I
first
was
one.
trying. I was going to try to watch it, but I just ran out of time.
That's okay. I'm still holding back because I don't think it's caught its stride yet. But I hear that it's actually not getting too bad of reviews in some circles. So,
Oh yeah, I did watch the first one, and
like I said, it didn't have enough time to really get you in, did it? It was like, yeah.
yeah, it was pretty subpar. Like Misha Collins was a highlight, and then the girl with the chaotic energy that is like the daughter of
Joker's daughter, yeah.
Joker. Joker's daughter was interesting, but otherwise, God, there's just
Right.
I have so many complaints about that first episode.
Mhm.
It would take me an hour to explain all of my complaints, I think.
Like the thing I said last week on it, I think one of their biggest problems is they should have gone for a 2-hour pilot, especially if they were going to cancel Flash that week anyway. They should have done part 1 and part 2. But I will say this week's episode wasn't the continuation I was hoping for.
Yeah.
So
Let me, Angel, just to give you a little bit of, I don't remember how much he talked about Gotham Knights last week. There is no Dick Grayson. Oh yeah, there's no Dick Grayson. None of the Robins we know exist in this world.
Is the Robin that they introduced at the end of the, isn't that supposed to be spoiler?
Huh?
I think that's the Robin that was spoiler, wasn't it?
I don't know who she is. I don't know who she is, but they did. Okay, so the Batman has only adopted one kid, and this kid grows up not knowing Bruce is Batman.
Right.
And the day he finds out that Bruce is Batman is the day Bruce is murdered.
Bruce gets murdered?
Yeah.
Yes.
The opening scene.
I already don't like this show.
The opening scene of the show, I think it's the opening scene, it's at least really early in the show. This group of 3 kids are hired, they break into Bruce Wayne's office.
Wayne Tower.
Weirdly, yeah, they break into his office at Wayne Tower, weirdly easily. And they find the vault is already open, but they still open the vault, and the only thing that's in the vault is the gun that was used to kill Bruce's parents. And they take it out of the safe, and they find that they notice that the barrel is still warm, and they realize it's recently been used. And then they see a little further into the office, there's a big window that's broken with like paint, red, I don't know if it's paint or blood, but red lettering above it that says the bat is gone or the bat is dead or something like that. And they go and look out the window and they see, I don't know how well they can see it, but Bruce's body is down on the ground.
So they get framed for his death.
Yeah, so these kids are being framed for murdering Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne's body has a crappy looking Batman mask on his face.
So like it wasn't his. Someone planted the mask on him.
I think so. I think someone stuck the mask on his face because he's in his business suit. He's like in a regular business suit, but with a cruddy bat mask on his head.
And they were hired to do the crime. And the thing is, Bruce's adopted son is throwing a party at Wayne Manor at the time, so he's obviously not suspect for being in on the actual.
I
don't think that really means anything. It could still be him.
There's evidence planted that he supposedly paid for the heist, so he's implicated too.
The people that are scheming this, they withdrew money from Bruce's kid's account in the same amount of money. Withdrew money from his account to then pay these kids to go steal the gun, but actually get the blame for the kill. So now Bruce's kid is getting blamed for paying for the job to kill Bruce.
So they all end up on the run. Now.
Yeah. And then the fucking police threw them all in the same cell together.
Why?
Which seems reckless to me, but okay.
So it turns out at least one of the cops is dirty anyway. And
Oh yeah, a few of the cops end up being dirty and plan on killing them.
but
To tie up loose ends, and we find out that the Court of Owls is
that's
involved
what's
here.
going to be the big thing. Is the one saving grace right now is the fact that they're bringing in such a classic villain organization that is rarely showcased in Batman live action stuff, the Court of Owls. And so it's going to be interesting to see what they do at the Court of Owls.
There's a lot I don't like about everything.
Yeah. And so at near the end of the episode, these kids are then thrown into a police wagon together to be hauled over to Blackgate. And it turns out that they're being hauled away with dirty cops. And Robin, this girl Robin, and I don't remember her name or anything, but she goes to the same school as Bruce, and she became Robin by figuring out who Batman was and started to work with him. But the public doesn't know. Because even these kids are like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Robin. And they're like, who the hell is Robin? So Gotham doesn't know who Robin is.
Yeah, he's never showcased a Robin, I guess, in this version of the Batverse. There's never been a Dick Grayson. There's never been.
It's hard to be like excited for a group of people who have almost virtually no connection to Bruce Wayne at all.
Yeah.
It's like Gotham Knights traditionally, as they were shown in the video game, and they were also like as the other video game showed it, in the comics after that, really focused on the Bat family.
Right.
And it really feels like there's only one Bat family. Like this Robin is the only part of the Bat family.
Yeah.
In the entire thing.
There's the kid who's the adopted son of Bruce Wayne, but he's not a Bat anything.
Yeah, he's not a part of the Bat family.
He's not Dick Grayson. He's not Jason Todd.
He has no training. Like he knows how to. We know he can sword fight because there's a scene at his school where he's.
Well, yeah, and he points out in the second episode, you find out that his dad did insist that he learn martial arts and fencing and all this stuff, so he had to know how to protect himself.
It is crazy to me that Bruce Wayne suggested fencing as like a thing because like sword play is very dangerous.
And
it's
not one
like,
that you would have thought that Bruce Wayne would have recommended. You would have thought straight martial arts.
I mean, it's an easy one to get him into at a boarding school,
prep school, yeah.
Prep school, whatever you call those super expensive schools.
Yeah, I'm sure they're not teaching Krav Maga.
And then, Robin's outfit in this is like dark brown.
Yeah.
Kind of an ugly dark brown, and she's got these weird glowing goggles that.
Oh yeah. Okay, so we're talking about that Robin. I'm actually familiar with that Robin.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think that's the one that they called Spoiler.
It's the Dark Knight Robin.
The Dark Knight Returns one?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Frank Miller's writing that only appears in that book.
And she happens to be
actually there's a continuation to that, but it's still like not canon.
She also happens to be a woman of color. But
this person? All right.
Yes.
So this is kind of like, I don't know if you can see, but she's got like goggles on that glow.
Yeah. I recognize her from the
Spoiler, I think.
Frank Miller's. I recognize her from Frank Miller's writing.
Thank you.
But anyway, that's the new Gotham Knights. Take with it what you will. I'm still reserving judgment until I get a few more episodes under my belt.
Something that confuses me about the Joker's daughter is why the F was she raised in Arkham Asylum? She was born in Arkham Asylum and apparently wasn't released until she was almost an adult.
Yeah, which that's not normally how things work in an asylum. She would have been fostered out to a family out on the outside.
Yeah.
But this is DC. They do that kind of funky thing.
Gotham's a dark place, I guess.
Gotham's just a dark, dark place. We do know that she is not Harley Quinn's daughter.
Yeah.
Because of a reference she makes to when he dumped her mother to be with Harley Quinzel.
Yeah, yeah. This girl is the daughter of a woman that Joker was with before he got together with Harley Quinn.
Right.
Oh wow.
So she's not.
It was always weird to me that people are like always pushing like this relationship aspect of Joker and Harley Quinn when like the animated series made it very clear they weren't in a relationship. That it was like very one-sided. She was interested.
The Joker just used her.
Yeah, it was never sexual for the Joker or physical. Like it was always her wanting the Joker.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure he slept with her sometimes, but
like in the new stuff, sure, but she originated in the animated TV series, and not only did they never make it canon that he ever slept with her, but it made it canon that he has never slept with her early on in the animated series, and it wasn't until like the reboot of the series.
Property.
I don't know about that. I think there is.
There was like a famous thing was like, you want to rev your Harvey or your Harley.
But that doesn't mean he never slept with her. It's just at that point he was more determined to draw triangles than he was to sleep with Harley. As he came up with I mean, what he was doing is just trying to come up with a new plan to deal with Batman. But what you physically see is him drawing triangles.
Yeah, no, it can't be considered canon because one, he constantly, every single time she ever wants to be physical with him, he constantly pushes her away. Number two, it is he manipulated her emotionally in an episode where he made it known to her that she is just one of many henchmen, and he only ever considers her a henchman, and he's utilizing the fact that she likes him sexually. Yeah. And in those kinds of relationships, especially psychologically, if you give into them, then it gives the person who's into you power. So it's smart for the Joker to not have sex with her to keep her interested.
I mean, there was an episode in the cartoon, the old Batman cartoon, where she is gone, and he's trying to replace her with someone new, and he gets upset, and he actually ends up missing Harley Quinn, and I think finally goes and breaks her out of Arkham or whatever. Yeah. But she's pissed because of how long it took him. And there also is a comic series that shows that she does eventually get pregnant, and she hides the pregnancy from Joker because it's Joker's kid.
So the narrative that she was, I'm saying the original Harley, and that's what my original point was when I started this. The original Harley from the animated show, they did everything they could to make it known that she wasn't in a sexual relationship with him, that the relationship was always one-sided. And nothing was ever confirmed until the comic. But she originated in the animated TV series. The original Harley wasn't in a relationship.
It was a denial of possession relationship.
Yeah. Which is a very common kind of relationship for narcissists to have. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the kind of like relationship that was toted with Judas Contract.
Well, let's see. We've got about 16 minutes left. We do want to touch on Superman and Lois. See, you had not really seen much of Superman and Lois last week, if I remember correctly.
Last week I had seen the first episode.
Yes.
So Superman and Lois is a show that Allie likes a lot, and she wants to watch them as soon as we're able to, and so we've kept it. Although we didn't watch Superman and Lois until the newest episode until this evening. Like I had to choose between Superman and Lois and Gotham Knights, and she wanted to watch Superman and Lois. So
easy choice.
It was an easy choice. Although, considering the circumstances that we're in and the circumstances of where this episode went, it was a really hard episode for us to watch. It was a good episode, but it was really difficult for us.
Because and for those who we've referenced it here on the show before, so it's no secret that Squirrel is going through cancer treatment, and Lois turns out might have cancer. So
well, she was confirmed by the end of the episode. She revealed that she was confirmed. They did a biopsy, and she has stage 3 breast cancer.
Right. That's right. They finally confirmed it in the last scene when they talked to the boys about it.
It's almost like God, that's so dark. But like there was a Robot Chicken skit I think, or a Family Guy skit or something.
Okay.
You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, and so I kind of made a reference to it while we were watching the episode.
Oh, no.
Before we knew what she was sick from, she was getting some tests done. We got confirmation that she wasn't pregnant at the end of the previous episode. And so I joked, I was like, oh, she probably has, I joked about her having breast cancer from Clark X-ray visiting her boobs too much. And Hallie went, he wouldn't do that. And then at the end of the episode, we find out it's breast cancer. I was like,
Absolutely, yeah. That's a dark joke, but it's like
it is kind of dark, but that's kind of how it.
Like X-ray vision without like the lead.
Yeah.
Chest plate, like
yeah. And Clark had to find out while Lois was talking a woman down from a ledge.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, one thing I will say about the first couple episodes of Superman and Lois, I mentioned it last week, and I'm going to reiterate it this week. They integrated the new Jonathan, I think, really well. I think that we almost don't notice the new actor.
Yeah, they just kind of like,
they
didn't have to write anything. They just kind of dropped in the new actor.
He looks a lot like the previous actor, and they made sure not to focus in on it so much that it became a non-issue. Which
no corny little jokes about him looking different or whatever.
Right, and they did it. So I thought they did it well. Is that's one of my main critiques? Not even critique, is compliment of how they're handling it, because that was a worry. Whenever you have to switch an actor partway through something, there's a worry of how they're going to step into that shoes, and he's actually doing a good job.
Yeah.
And the writers are doing a good job.
I don't yet like him as much as the original actor, but I do think he's doing a pretty good job for being a replacement.
Coming in, and that's the thing.
We'll see how it goes, continuing forward.
Yeah, he's not standing out yet because they haven't given him anything to stand out with yet.
Yeah.
All he's really done is get his license for his truck and then sneak his brother to a party. He's not really done a whole lot yet.
Yeah.
We've got to wait till he starts dabbling in
So there's there's a villain that they have in this show now that they introduced in the previous episode, and we got to see some more in this episode. That villain that has like a circular face.
Bruno
his name? It's like a spiral on his face.
Onomatopoeia.
Onomatopoeia is the name of the character. And my understanding, I've not read the comics that include Onomatopoeia, but he was a Kevin Smith creation. And basically, Onomatopoeia wasn't really related to his superpower. It was just a quirk that he has, where he's always saying the words of sounds that he hears. So if someone shoots a gun, if he shoots a gun, he would yell bang at the same time he's shooting the gun. That kind of a thing. And Kevin Smith's like, this character would never work on film, on screen, because it's funny in a comic, but it's kind of dumb for a movie. Well, what they've done for the movie is they basically made it to where he kind of vocally replicates sounds of things happening, and then it basically telekinetically does the action. So he makes a gunshot sound with his face, and suddenly they're hit with invisible bullets.
Sonic mimicry power, basically.
Yeah.
He's the ultimate impressionist.
Yeah, and we got a little bit to help with the explanation of, there was a guy that was murdered, and someone who was investigating said it looks like he got shot in the chest with a shotgun blast, but we can't find any pellets.
Mm-hmm. So
and I think that's an interesting way to handle that character.
Yeah, interesting way to interpret the character for live action.
It makes him kind of horrifying. It kills you with sounds.
Yeah, he's basically Jonesy from the Police Academy movie with powers.
yeah. If he could kill with those sound effects, exactly.
Yeah, and that's it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it because the character has not been eliminated yet. And of course, we get a better view of Bruno Mannheim in this episode too. So Bruno Mannheim is going to be more and more featured. See, we also had a party in Metropolis, which the kids went to separately. So Steele's daughter and Sarah go to this party so that Sarah can help Steele's daughter meet a guy she was kind of crushing on her world. And kind of
she's like, if you liked him in your world, maybe he's in this world, and it's meant to be. And she gets his name and looks him up and finds out he's throwing a party in Metropolis. So she's like, I'm going to be your wingman. Let's go to this party.
So she's her wing woman. And then Jonathan talks. They hear about the party from Jonathan's ex, and he talks Jordan into going to the party and Jordan to fly them there because there's no way they could get there and back in time for their parents' curfew that they gave them in Jonathan's truck. But flying, they could do it. So they fly there, and then they end up meeting with Sarah and them. But there's a
well, you forgot the funny part to it is Jonathan convinced Jordan to go to the party so that he can meet other girls and do something away from Sarah since him and Sarah broke up. Sarah is going there and deliberately didn't tell Jordan about where she was going because she's like, we're just doing a girls' night thing or whatever. Because she's trying to help her friend get a date out there. And then they both end up happening to go to the same party for different reasons. I mean,
They keep getting together. And then at one point they're sitting together talking, and he hears his dad in trouble with his super hearing. And she's like, you got to go. And he's like...
That was from the previous episode.
That is from the previous episode. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
That's right. That was at the very tail end of the previous episode. But still... It's
unfortunate for Natalie. That's the girl. That's Steele's daughter is Natalie. Unfortunate for Natalie.
I remember her.
The guy that they went to try to meet turns out to be a complete douchebag who starts to try to bully Sarah and Jordan and keeps yelling at Jordan, calling him a beer bitch and telling him to go get him a beer bitch. And so then Sarah takes a cup of beer and throws it in his face and is like, there's your beer, bitch.
Sarah's got some sass to her. I like Sarah.
And then before the end of the day, Jordan uses ice breath on the guy's truck and froze the truck and the driveway. So then they had a video of it just sliding down the hill of the driveway.
It was nice to see a little bit of just teen angstiness. Teens with superpowers would do this. We know they would. So it's nice to see that they throw that little element of teen rebellion in there. Anyway, that's Superman and Lois. And then the only other thing we were going to talk about a little bit today was the spoiler-free Shazam 2, but we kind of mentioned a bunch of that already.
Yeah.
And that's good because I think we're just about out of time. We got like 5 minutes. I will say I thought, and it sounds like Lurch thought, it was even better than the first one. Helen Mirren and Lucy Liu and what was the other girl's name? Renee Ziegler or something like that? I don't know that actress.
Oh, hang on. Who did you say? You mentioned Lucy Liu, and what was the first one you said?
Helen Mirren.
Helen Mirren. And then are you talking about the other Atlas daughter?
The other Atlas daughter. It's like Renee Ziegler or something like that.
Oh, I don't think that's her.
Renee or Rachel Ziegler.
Rachel Ziegler.
Rachel Ziegler. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not real
I wonder,
super familiar
they're
with her.
pretty sure there is an actress named Renee Ziegler.
No, there's Renee Zellweger.
Do you know what? That's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
Renee
because I just
Zellweger.
thought of it too. Uh, but overall, I thought it was a great movie. I thought that the mythological creatures introduced were really well done. I thought the comedy with Zachary Levy, you know, basically saying, I'm out of my element, don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Okay,
I'm trying to
so
keep this
I
together
love that
thinking.
they called out his lack of wisdom of Solomon.
Yes, they
The
did.
S in Shazam is supposed to mean wisdom of Solomon, and when they learn what it is, which I won't spoil too much, but something had to literally spell it out to Shazam what his name means.
Oh
And
yeah.
then one of his siblings was like, I think you're missing this one here. And he's like, no, I got the wisdom of Solo Man.
Solo Man.
Yeah.
and and also his one brother with the crutches. Um,
Ready? Yeah.
Freddie. He calls himself Captain All Powers,
Every power.
or
Captain Every Power.
Captain Every Power, because they through the whole movie, uh, Billy Batson has not figured out a superhero name yet.
Still, yeah.
Till the very end, when finally
No, we're not giving out all the spoilers, but
that's not a spoiler. I mean, we know
yeah,
he ends up getting called Shazam, so
yeah.
that's really a non-spoiler. I'm trying not to give
Did,
spoilery stuff away.
so, did I hear correctly that someone in a crowd called him Captain Marvel at some point?
Yes, I remember
Okay.
that there was one part in the crowd while they were um, dealing with the mythological creatures, but hadn't quite got the unicorns yet. I think it was right at that point that somebody called him like Captain Marvel.
Yeah, they're like, thank you, Captain Marvel, or something like that.
Yeah.
Wait. When it happened, I was like, wait, did I hear that right? Did they
Yeah.
actually use his original name?
And the cameo, which is spoiled in one of the previews, so we're not spoiling anything here.
What is the distance between the Captain Marvel for Marvel movie coming out and the first Shazam movie? Can you answer that? Like, did they come out in the same year?
I think they did.
Something like that.
What feels like the old war all over again?
Yeah.
Let's see, Captain Marvel movie came out. What's the release date? Captain Marvel came out 2019, and then Shazam release date. Yeah, also 2019. So yeah, both movies came out in 2019.
Yeah.
Which one came out first?
Oh gosh. Let's see. Shazam came out in April. Captain Marvel came out in give me something more specific than a
I feel like
year.
it's either March or September.
February.
February. Okay.
So
Marvel was first.
February 27th. So almost, a couple of days away from
And
March.
it's hard for due to the differences in like production quality, honestly. It's hard for me to believe that Shazam had a longer production cycle.
Anyway,
What is that? What are you trying to get at though? Or
I'm trying to say that like Captain Marvel and Shazam has always had kind of like this weird, not hateful rivalry, like because that was like settled in a legal battle, but like I don't know, there's always been like that DC versus Marvel
Well,
Kind of like I almost feel like Shazam was like a nod to that in some way. Like maybe they got like wind that Captain Marvel was being in the works, and they were like, it'd be fun to put out a Shazam movie in the same year.
well,
You know, I don't
well,
think anything nefarious. I just thought,
well.
it'd be really
Remember, Shazam originally wasn't even a Marvel. I mean, wasn't even a DC property.
yeah.
It was Captain Marvel, but they got into a legal battle with DC because he had most of the same powers as Superman, and he was, and the gold lightning bolt was like the gold S on the chest and a red, and the
I
cape.
think I think Angel was just joking about the release window times for the
Right.
movies.
But
Yeah,
it's funny that DC started out in a legal battle with the old comic company that did Captain Marvel. Then later on, decided to start producing it themselves after they got the cease and desist for the other company. Years later, they brought a character back on their own stable, but then they had to change the name because by then Marvel had come out with a Captain Marvel, and so they had to change its name to Shazam.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was just making a joke about it. Like I feel
Yeah.
like everybody knows the Shazam
Not a
Captain
lot of
Marvel.
people know about the other comic book company. They know the DC
Yeah.
versus Marvel thing, but they don't remember that
Man,
early
DC has a tendency to absorb a lot of
other smaller brands.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the original non-DC Captain Marvel was the entire inspired look for Elvis. Elvis Presley had his iconic like lightning bolt chest and open stuff to emulate the look of Captain Marvel because he liked him
Mhm.
so much when he was a kid.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh.
Yeah.
that's 100% true. Yeah, Elvis absolutely adored Captain Marvel, so he modeled his entire stage look around him.
Yep.
Huh. I had
Yeah.
no idea.
Hmm.
Yep. Yes,
Interesting.
sir. Okay. Well, we're done for this week. We still have to have our big Last of Us show. We're going to plan that one.
Yeah, we really do. It's fading in
I
my
haven't
mind.
watched the very
I
last
feel
of
it
it.
going.
Yeah.
I have to gear myself up to watch the last of it.
And and I don't have the time to rewatch it myself.
Me neither.
But this
Me
time
neither.
Oh,
next week, we will all have seen Dungeons
I
and
almost,
Dragons.
I, I almost
Thank
feel like watching my live stream of The Last of Us is probably going to be faster than rewatching the TV series.
But
I think it's slightly longer than the TV series was.
Is it really?
I think our live stream was about 13 hours long total. Like when
It's
you put it all together.
yeah, yeah, slightly
but
longer. Yeah.
we will all have seen Dungeons and Dragons by next week, so we will do our
Yep.
spoiler-free
Hopefully.
Dungeons and Dragons next week.
You know, I tried to get there to watch it with us, but they never contacted me about times. So I think we're just gonna have to find our own times and just be like, wasn't that great on Sunday?
Yeah.
I mean,
You know, because like if we don't watch it by Sunday, they'll have seen it and we won't, and it won't be fresh in their minds anymore. You know what I mean?
which
Yeah.
other two are we talking about?
From our D&D game.
D&D
Yeah,
players?
from D&D. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got to watch it twice no matter what because someone has to stay home and watch Rory.
Well, like I said, I'm going to see it at least once with Ralphie, and I probably won't see it early with Allison because you don't like to go on opening weekends. But I've got a movie past Alamo with the companion ticket.
I honestly plan on going to see it in Alamo.
Then I could get you in on my companion.
You know what?
Sometime.
That would be awesome.
You would just have to be on a ride, is all.
Yeah, I can provide a ride. That could be cool.
So we can organize. Let me find out when I'm going to see it with Ralphie.
Yeah, do that.
Then,
that would mean that I'd be able to stay home and watch Rory, and I wouldn't have to spend extra money to have to see it twice, which I don't think I'd have minded
because
seeing
I
it
just
twice.
spent
Convenient.
$4.08 for my convenience fee, and it's whether I go by myself or if I go with somebody else because I paid
That's awesome.
the extra tickets. So I would take you along, Angel.
Hell yeah.
And
I'd appreciate that.
we sit in the handicap row, but that's actually the most comfortable seats in the place anyway.
I'm sure it is. The exalted handicap row.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll organize that sometime this weekend, and
Sure.
I'll take you, and that way you can.
I don't know what's more convenient. I am deaf in my left ear, so sitting on the left side of me, I wouldn't be able to hear you. We could talk about these details later.
And I don't talk during the movie anyway. Really, I talk leading up to it. But as soon as the movie starts, I might make a couple of small comments, but they'll be really quiet.
I'm handicapped. I could technically sit in these rows, but I'm like, I think these are reserved for people with wheelchairs.
Yeah. People with leg handicap.
I don't bring my wheelchair, but I sit in the handicap row.
Yeah.
And I take the handicap seat. I just tell them to leave the seat in because Alamos actually can be removed, where AMC.
Alamo is great. Like they are great with. There's a device that I use sometimes. If I have a hard time hearing a movie, I'll quickly go out and be like, "Can I please have?" I don't remember what it is, but it kind of gives you like the subtitles. Yep, and I use that.
Captions.
Yeah, it's got captions on it, and so sometimes I'll do that. It's inconvenient, but if I mean, like it really depends on the movie, what their sound quality is, or like whether or not they favor deep drones over the people talking. It makes it impossible for me to hear.
Right.
Avatar was that way. The original Avatar, not the Way of Water. I haven't seen that one yet. The original Avatar was like the sounds of the environment was overlaid over the people talking, and it made me really hard to understand what anyone was fucking saying. So Alamo was great at that. I tried doing that at AMC, and AMC almost never has caption machines when I want to use them.
Mm-hmm.
But from what I heard from the commercials, D&D probably won't be a problem since I've been able to hear everyone really well. So
you should be able to because and like I said, I don't typically buy food at the Alamo just because a lot of times we'll either just drink water or Ralphie will buy us sodas, and that's about it. Mm-hmm. When I go, so at most, you don't even have to worry about buying food or anything. But if you want a soda, sodas are like $6.
I'd probably use my own card to buy food if I was hungry or something like that.
But I'm just letting you know, and I'll drink water half the time anyway. I mean, if I want a soda, usually Ralphie gets me one, but I don't require it.
Sure. So let's wrap up instead of talking about our popcorn.
And we will talk about D&D next week a little bit.
Yeah. People got a little bit of insight at the way I can see movies.
Yep. All right. We'll talk to you guys
later.
Peace out. Bye.